A 25-year-old mystery that had baffled investigators was finally solved in a little village west of Niagara Falls. 26 years old Nadine Gurchensky was brutally murdered, and her body was found in a ditch along the road in 1999. Her murder was long considered a cold case. However, the development of state-of-the-art genetic genealogy allowed detectives to make the necessary connections and identify the elusive offender. A bereaved family found both clarity and comfort when the puzzle pieces came together and revealed the unsettling reality about who was accountable for Nadine's terrible end. Toronto, Canada native Nadine Gurchensky was well known for her vivacious and kind demeanor. Nadine was a beloved member of her community, in addition to being a daughter, wife, and mother. Nadine's close ties to her family characterized her life. She nurtured their children and kept in touch with her husband, Paul, despite their divorce. In Lincoln, Ontario, a tiny hamlet west of Niagara Falls, on May 8, 1999, Nadine Gurchensky's lifeless body was found in a roadside ditch close to Victoria Avenue and 8th Avenue. Partially clothed, Nadine had been killed by strangulation. Upon discovering her dead, onlookers notified the Niagara Regional Police Service of the disturbing find. Nadine's unfortunate situation involved a difficult and intricate initial inquiry. Images of her face that were made public let police identify her right away, but apprehending the culprit remained difficult. Investigators concentrated on assembling a chronology and determining Nadine's actions in the days preceding her demise. Given the circumstances of the crime scene and Nadine's employment at a strip club, which may have exposed her to homeless people, they thought that the perpetrator was a truck driver. Between Niagara and Mississauga, where Nadine was employed, investigators scouted truck stops and closely examined likely possibilities. Additionally, they extracted and examined DNA from the crime site, uploading it to databases both domestically and globally, such as Interpol. They searched the databases, but were unable to find any matches. Michael Durant, a suspect connected to previous violent crimes in the vicinity, was the subject of an investigation by police in 2006. Nevertheless, he was ultimately ruled out as a suspect in Nadine's case. Since there was no proof that Michael was involved in Nadine's brutal murder, his involvement in the case was dropped. The case stalled throughout the years, with no fresh leads or breakthroughs. Not until 2021 did notable advancements occur. The Niagara Regional Police Service started utilizing cutting-edge genetic genealogy techniques in cooperation with the Toronto Police Service's Cold Case Unit, the Centre of Forensic Sciences, the Chief Coroner's Office, and Ontario's Ministry of the Attorney General. DNA from the crime scene was submitted to a U.S. specialized laboratory that used genetic genealogy, akin to consumer DNA testing services such as 23andMe or Ancestry DNA. Based on the DNA profile, the lab constructed large family trees to eliminate possible candidates. A truck driver who had operated in the Niagara region, named Joseph Archie Raymond Brousseau, was the focus of the investigation in 2023. Even though Brousseau had passed away in 2017, police were still able to compare the DNA from the crime scene with a sample taken from his remains. The match verified Brousseau's involvement in Nadine's demise. Subsequent inquiry indicated that Brousseau was well-traveled and had ties to the Niagara region, supporting the first suspicions regarding the nature of the crime. When he was killed, he was 34 years old. Being a truck driver, we were able to determine that his trucking routes brought him in and through the Niagara region, disclosed Detective Staff Sergeant Andrew Neville. He was a truck driver in both Canada and the U.S., and we discovered that he used some of our roads in Niagara, which may have contributed to his acquaintance with the region. A long-suffering family finds some closure in the horrifying case of Nadine Gurchensky, which was resolved after 25 years. It also highlights the significance of the amazing advancements in forensic technology in cold cases. Although Brousseau's passing prevents any legal culpability, the discovery shows how committed law enforcement and forensic specialists were to their tireless labor. In a statement, Nadine's family thanked Niagara Police and praised the latest technology that helped bring the investigation to a close. They said, "We want to recognize that Nadine was an incredibly important part of our family. She wasn't just talking about a headline. She was a stunning young lady on the inside as well as the outside. She was a mother, a wife, and a grandma who had everything taken from her, including her loved ones. In an instant, her entire family loves and misses her dearly, and we will do everything in our power to ensure that her memory endures forever." A vibrant young woman poised to celebrate her 24th birthday had her promising future tragically snatched away in an instant of unspeakable violence. Kristen Castles, a 23-year-old from the charming town of Hawthorne, Florida, met a heartbreaking fate just 5 days shy of her special day. The tragic shooting unfolded in the garage of her boyfriend's home, leaving her family and community in profound sorrow over the abrupt loss. Her narrative, woven with threads of love, sorrow, and lingering questions, remains indelibly imprinted in the hearts of those who cherished her. Born on April 25, 1993, in the quaint town of Hawthorne to Randy and Brenda Warwick Castles, Kristen was a beacon of enthusiasm during her years at Hawthorne High School. She was not merely a student, she was a vibrant participant in numerous activities, excelling in softball and weightlifting, while also being a devoted member of the Future Farmers of America. Sundays found her at Eden Baptist Church, a testament to her deep-rooted connections within her community. Following her graduation, Kristen embarked on a fulfilling career in healthcare as a medical assistant. Her life in Hawthorne was a harmonious blend of professional dedication and personal joy. However, beneath the surface of her seemingly perfect existence, an unforeseen darkness was quietly encroaching, one that would soon disrupt the tranquility she had always known. As she approached her 24th birthday, the life Kristen had meticulously crafted began to unravel. On April 21, 2017, what should have been a routine evening for Kristen and her boyfriend took a devastating turn. The couple had spent a delightful day basking in the sun and surf of a Florida beach, relishing the simple pleasures of life. Upon returning to their Central Florida residence, the serenity of the day lingered, a blissful contentment that follows a day well spent. Yet, ever responsible, Kristen recalled she needed to retrieve her scrubs for work the following morning. She emerged from the vehicle, blissfully unaware that her existence was on the brink of a harrowing upheaval. As Kristen made her way toward the residence, a cadre of figures materialized from the darkness, their motives chillingly premeditated. They had come to plunder the home, transforming the once serene ambiance into an immediate and paralyzing threat. Instinctively sensing the peril, Kristen began to hasten toward the sanctuary of the house where her boyfriend awaited. Yet, that night, the concept of safety proved to be an elusive dream. Suddenly, the sharp crack of gunfire shattered the stillness, obliterating the tranquility and security Kristen had always cherished. In a frantic bid for survival, she was struck in the back by a bullet, plunging her into a maelstrom of chaos and terror, accompanied by an overwhelming sense of betrayal from the world she had trusted. The gunfire continued unabated. Her boyfriend, paralyzed by shock and horror, dashed outside in a desperate attempt to shield Kristen and their home. Amidst the turmoil, he returned fire, but the irreversible damage had already been inflicted. Kristen lay gravely injured, while her boyfriend, though physically unscathed, was left to contend with the emotional and psychological wounds of witnessing the brutal demise of his beloved. As the assailants vanished into the night, they left behind more than just the remnants of a failed robbery. They left a community enveloped in grief, a family steeped in sorrow, and a future that Christine would never have the chance to embrace. For years, Christine Cassell's family has remained steadfast in their quest for justice, resolutely determined to hold those accountable for her untimely death. At the forefront of this endeavor has been her mother, Brenda Castles, who has emerged as a passionate advocate. She has relentlessly sought answers, refusing to allow her daughter's memory to fade into obscurity. Despite the relentless passage of time and the weight of her loss, Brenda's determination has never wavered. After an arduous 7-year investigation, their unwavering commitment finally bore fruit. The Alachua County Sheriff's Office, tirelessly working to unravel the events of that tragic evening, has announced a significant advancement in the investigation. The arrest of 3 suspects linked to Kristen's murder represents a pivotal moment in the enduring pursuit of justice. This development has instilled a renewed sense of hope in a family that has faced years of anguish and uncertainty. On July 15, 2024, the first suspect, Kenneth Altador, was taken into custody in Fort Lauderdale, thanks to the collaborative efforts of the Broward County Sheriff's Office. The following day, on July 16th, Blake Jackson was arrested in Hallandale Beach, also with the assistance of the Broward County Sheriff's Office. Both Altador and Jackson are presently detained in the Broward County Jail, awaiting their extradition to Alachua County to face charges related to Kristen's demise. The third suspect, Nickinson Perrin, introduces an additional layer of intrigue to the case. Currently incarcerated in a federal prison in Seattle, Washington, on unrelated offenses, Perrin has also been implicated in connection with Kristen's tragic situation. In December 1985, the tranquil town of St. Croix Falls, Wisconsin, experienced a shocking crime that would remain unresolved for nearly 4 decades. On the morning of December 12, 1985, Yvonne Menke, a 45-year-old mother of 4, was discovered murdered in the stairwell of her apartment complex. The inquiry into Yvonne's death quickly uncovered a tangled web of personal connections and lingering conflicts, indicating that this was not a random act of violence but a calculated and intentional crime. Despite the diligent efforts of law enforcement, the case remained a mystery for many years until a significant breakthrough brought new insights. Yvonne Menke, a respected member of her community, found herself caught in a complicated love triangle involving a man named Jack Owen, whose relationship with Yvonne was further complicated by his ties to another woman. This intricate situation set the stage for the tragic events that transpired on that fateful morning. As Yvonne left her apartment to start her car, she was unaware that a violent confrontation awaited her. The crime scene was located in the rear stairwell of her building. As she approached her vehicle, an assailant, who had been lying in wait, ambushed her. The attack was cold and calculated, with the perpetrator having stalked her and meticulously planned the assault. Following her into the stairwell, the assailant shot Yvonne 3 times. 1 bullet struck her neck, while 2 others hit the back of her head. Left incapacitated and vulnerable on the cold ground, Yvonne tragically succumbed to her injuries alone in the dark stairwell. The crime scene was discovered shortly after the incident, with investigators uncovering Yvonne's lifeless body alongside shell casings from the gunfire. The investigation confirmed that this was not a spontaneous act, but rather a premeditated and systematic execution. Following the discovery of Yvonne's body, law enforcement promptly initiated a thorough investigation into her murder. The primary objective was to collect evidence from the crime scene. Detectives carefully scrutinized the rear stairwell of her apartment building, gathering shell casings and other potential forensic materials. However, the investigation encountered significant obstacles due to the scarcity of witnesses and the early hour of the incident. The neighborhood was quiet, and no one reported any unusual activity that morning. The forensic evidence, including the bullet casings, was sent for analysis, but without immediate leads to a suspect, progress was slow. Detectives considered various theories regarding the motive for the crime, yet the case remained unresolved, and the investigation gradually went cold. In the subsequent years, the case was transferred to a cold case unit. Detectives in this unit revisited the evidence and approached the case with new insights and advancements in forensic technology. Improvements in forensic science, particularly in DNA analysis, were utilized in hopes of uncovering new leads. Despite these renewed efforts, the investigation did not yield immediate results until 2022. In that year, investigators received the breakthrough they had long awaited. Enhanced forensic methods led to the identification of a DNA match, linking the evidence to an individual previously unknown to the case. This individual, Mary Jo Bailey, had lived discreetly for decades. Once her name emerged, a more in-depth investigation unveiled her potential connection to the case. Bailey's history and background were examined, revealing her involvement in a romantic relationship with Jack Owen, who was also associated with Yvonne Menke. This connection, along with the newly uncovered forensic evidence, established a significant motive and a direct association with the crime. As the investigation focused more intently on Bailey, law enforcement undertook a comprehensive review of her history and conducted interviews with those who knew her. The accumulating evidence increasingly indicated Bailey as a leading suspect. The investigative team compiled sufficient corroborative evidence to pursue an arrest warrant. In August 2023, Bailey was apprehended in Arizona, where she had been residing. She faced charges of first-degree murder, and the arrest garnered considerable media coverage due to the dramatic shift in a case that had remained unresolved for nearly 4 decades. After her arrest, Bailey was extradited to Wisconsin to stand trial. The judicial proceedings commenced with a series of pre-trial motions and hearings. Throughout this time, Bailey asserted her innocence and refrained from making any statements or providing explanations regarding the crime. The trial, held in 2024, attracted significant public interest, with many hoping for justice for Yvonne Menke and her family after years of uncertainty. On July 2, 2024, Mary Jo Bailey was sentenced to life imprisonment, with the possibility of parole in 20 years. The conclusion of the case offered a sense of closure to Yvonne's family, who had endured the anguish of her loss and the lingering uncertainty of an unsolved crime for many years. Prior to the announcement of Bailey's sentence, 3 of Yvonne's children, Julie, Susan, and James Menke Jr., shared their thoughts. Julie expressed, "You waited in a dark stairwell to maliciously take the life of my mom. You sentenced us to a life filled with pain, sadness, and hurt." James Jr. remarked, "To me, this is not justice. She got to live her life. We did not live ours. But it is as close as it is going to get, so now we can finally put this behind us. But Bailey should never be let out again." Recently, the resolution of a long-standing case was made public, bringing an end to a mystery that had persisted for 46 years. The tragic discovery of an infant's remains occurred on December 4, 2008, in a remote area along South Carolina, Highway 544. This sorrowful incident, involving the death of a viable child left exposed to harsh conditions, posed significant challenges for investigators and deeply affected the local community. The infant was found by utility workers, wrapped in a tote bag and placed inside a box in a wooded area near Conway in Horry County, South Carolina. The secluded location suggested that the child had been intentionally concealed. Coroner reports indicated that hypothermia, due to exposure to cold weather, was the cause of death. The investigation into the infant's demise, referred to as Baby Boy Horry, encountered numerous obstacles from the beginning. Authorities faced difficulties in identifying the child or uncovering the circumstances surrounding the abandonment. The scarcity of information and evidence hampered efforts to determine the identity of the infant or the individual responsible for this tragic event. As time passed, the case yielded no further leads and was ultimately classified as a cold case, concluding an investigation that had initially shown promise. On March 3, 2020, the Horry County Police Department announced a significant breakthrough in the baby boy Horry case, following a tip from the child's father, Ronald Woodham III. This development arose after physical evidence connected Jennifer Lynn Saar, previously known as Jennifer Rickle, to the incident. At the time, Saar, aged 32, was a student at Coastal Carolina University and lived in Pensacola, Florida. Her arrest in North Myrtle Beach marked a crucial turning point in the investigation. After her arrest, Saar was held at the J. Reuben Long Detention Center in Conway. On March 6, 2020, Lynn Saar attended a bond hearing in court where her request for bail was denied. During this session, solicitor Jimmy Richardson presented a poignant letter from Ronald Woodham III, who was unable to be present. The letter requested privacy and respect for the family as they grieved the loss of their only child. It expressed appreciation for those who had supported the quest for justice, including the Rolling Thunder Motorcycle Club and community members who honored the child on his birthdays. Additionally, the letter highlighted the family's need for ongoing prayers and support during this difficult time. Subsequently, Lynn Saar was released on bail while awaiting her trial. On September 15, 2022, she accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to the reduced charge of voluntary manslaughter, with the initial charge of murder by child abuse being dismissed. Throughout the court proceedings, Lynn Saar conveyed deep remorse and sorrow for her actions, offering a sincere apology to all in attendance and expressing her regret for not being able to assist her child on that tragic night. Lynn Saar recounted that during her sophomore year at Coastal Carolina University, she had a brief relationship with Ronald Woodham, which included an encounter in August 2008. She sought medical attention on campus due to experiencing numbness in her extremities, but claimed she was never informed of her pregnancy. In December 2008, while in her room at her residence, she experienced severe bleeding and pain, ultimately giving birth to the baby before losing consciousness. Upon regaining awareness, she found the baby unresponsive. Lynn Saar reflected on her reliance on spiritual strength to cope with the seriousness of her actions and the persistent guilt she has felt since that day. Her remarks demonstrated a genuine effort to reconcile with her past decisions and to seek forgiveness from those impacted by the unfortunate event. In her heartfelt speech, Saar committed to becoming a better individual and mother for her two young children, aged 5 and 2. She expressed her desire for understanding and forgiveness from the court and the families affected, offering her prayers and apologies to everyone present. Her appeal for compassion and understanding underscored her intention to make reparations and pursue a path toward redemption. In June 2023, Lynn Saar received a sentence of 10 years in prison, with 6 years of that sentence suspended. Furthermore, she was mandated to pay $1,700 to the Horry County Coroner's Office. The circuit court judge emphasized that her two children were the primary consideration in the sentencing, expressing hope that they would be well cared for during their mother's time in prison. The prosecutor noted that Saar had led a commendable life since 2008, with a supportive family and graduating with honors in 2010, but insisted that incarceration was essential to convey a strong message regarding the abandonment of a baby. Ronald Woodham III, the father of baby Horry, expressed his compassion for Saar, but raised concerns about the implications of a lenient sentence. He stated, "I am not seeking an excessively long sentence. I have compassion. I feel for her, her husband, and her children. However, I must say, if he had truly been alive and suffered to death, my future was taken from me.